Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to Geeks and Gamers Play, and Naughty Dog has said that they feel like they're kind of done with the Uncharted series, and that Neil Druckmann has also gone on to say that they're not too sure if they even want to do a new Last of Us, or Last of Us Part 3, because they are doing that multiplayer game. Now look, it seems to me like he says something different every other Tuesday when it comes to what they want to do with Last of Us, but you would think with the show going on at the moment, even though I'm not giving that piece of shit show any time of my day, it is popular. You think they would kind of use that success to push for the idea to do a Last of Us Part 3. However, so the studio co-president Neil Druckmann says that Sony wouldn't pressure them into making a Last of Us Part 3. Now, is that because Sony saw all the backlash that happened to Last of Us Part 2? I don't know. So Naughty Dog co-president Neil Druckmann has said that the studio has moved on from the Uncharted series and could do the same with Last of Us should it decide not to proceed with a third mainline series entry. So, The Last of Us series has sold over 37 million copies since its debut back in 2013 and is currently in the spotlight thanks to the successful launch of the HBO show this month. So, Naughty Dog is also currently developing a standalone Last of Us multiplayer game, which will include its own story and a new cast of characters. So, despite the franchise's commercial and critical success, I like to limit that just to the first game, Druckmann has claimed that Naughty Dog's parent company, Sony, would not pressure the company into continuing the story of Ellie and Abby that was told in 2020's Last of Us Part 2. So he said this in an interview with BuzzFeed, because I guess they're the only people that want to interview him now, that if the studio can come up with a compelling story for Part 3 and is passionate about the project, then they will make it. Well, that's ironic, because I feel like they're not passionate about Last of Us in general. So if not, it might decide to move on from the series, like it has chosen to do with its other blockbuster franchise, Uncharted. Now that also, it had a movie, which I heard was pretty shit, but that did pretty badly, so I guess that's why they didn't use that to capitalize off the hype, because there was no hype for that one. So he has a quote here, that I know there's a bunch of people wondering about Last of Us Part 3, and whether there'll be a thing or not. All I can say is Naughty Dog is very, very privileged that our publisher is Sony, which means Sony funds our games and supports us. We're owned by Sony. They have supported us every step of the way to follow our passions, meaning that just because something's successful, people think that there's all this pressure that we have to make a sequel. That is not the case, however. For us, Uncharted was insanely successful. Uncharted 4 was one of our best-selling games, and we're able to put out our final brushstroke on that story and say, we're done, we're moving on. Likewise with Last of Us, it's up to us whether we want to continue it or not, he said. Our process is the same thing that we did with Part 2, which is if we can come up with a compelling story that has its universal message and statement about love, just like the first and second game did, we will tell that story. That is just total fucking bullshit right there, especially when you think of Last of Us Part 2. However, if we can't come up with something, we have a very strong ending with Part 2, and that will be the end. Now, Last of Us Part 2 ended a little bit on a cliffhanger, so I think he's just talking out of his asshole there, but like I said, Neil Druckmann seems to change his statement on The Last of Us Part 3 every week, and this is just the latest update. So you tell me how you feel about this in the comment section down below. Would you even want a Last of Us Part 3? Be sure to subscribe to Geeks and Gamers Play and check out geeksandgamers.com, and I'll see you all in the next video.